The Second Battle of Guararapes was the second and decisive battle in a conflict called Pernambucana Insurrection between Dutch and Portuguese forces in 1649 at Jabotão dos Guararapes in the state of Pernambuco, ending the Dutch occupation of the Portuguese colony of Brazil. History. Though the Dutch West India Company fielded a larger, better equipped force, they suffered morale problems as most of their army was made up of mercenaries from Europe who felt no real passion for the war in Brazil, as opposed to the natives and Portuguese settlers who considered Brazil to be their home and were fighting for a patriotic cause. The Dutch force was also unused to fighting in the dense jungle and humid conditions of the country, wearing thick, brightly colored European clothing and heavy metal armor which inhibited their dexterity. Contemporary accounts describe Dutch troops at the battle as pale and sickly. The Dutch army at Guararapes were armed with pikes, cannon and an assortment of bladed weapons. It is thought by historians that the use of short blades by the Dutch was an attempt to imitate previously successful Portuguese weaponry and tactics. The Portuguese force was made up of an assortment of natives, blacks and whites, who knew and had experience fighting in the difficult Brazilian terrain. They would weaken Dutch troops with fusillades of musket fire from behind trees, and then charge with melee weapons. The Dutch had expected the enemy to march down the well-established coastal roads, and thus formed a line of defense covering these roads. However, the Portuguese force used a series of minor trails to reach Pernambuco, appearing out of the wetlands to the west in Guararapes Hills and flanking the Dutch. After several hours of fighting, the Dutch retreated northwards to Recife, leaving their artillery behind. Following the Dutch retreat, the Portuguese army marched into Pernambuco. Important characters. Enrique Diaz, son of slaves. He was the governador da gente preta, ex-slaves from farms reached by the conflict. Felipe Camarão, native Brazilian from the Potiguar tribe, leader of the forces from that tribe. João Fernandes Vieira, landowner from Funchal, Madeira, commanded 1 Infantry Turco. André Vidal de Negreiros, commander of 1 Infantry Turco.